I suppose the first photograph has to be with my parents. They were great. They were very important to me. My mother told me I had no willpower in my teens. If I ever met willpower, I was going to kill him. But I think she was just egging us on to work harder. My father was an absolutely gorgeous man. He was an orphan. He went to work at the age of 14. It was Vincent's orphanage in Glasnevin. And was tone deaf, always won the same, sang the same song when he had a winning hand in poker, whereupon everybody else threw in the hands. He was just gorgeous. I used to love going to the races with him, and he thought anything I did was fabulous, which was marvellous. And this is when I got my first award. I've had a lot of awards, but this was the first one. The Italian government gave me a Cavaliere Ufficiale of the Order of some Merit of the Italian Republic. And it was a very special evening. Finally, my mother thought I was going to do something right, you know. Anyway. Because the first time I really won at the Feis Ceoil, which was big in my life when I was a kid, was in 1964. And suddenly, having never won a junior competition in the Feis Ceoil, suddenly I won 3. It was great, and this is with my teacher, Dr. O'Reilly, the Doc, as we all called him, who was an inspiration and egged me on and talked in dreams, and I believed him, and many of them came true. Also, growing up, my family was terribly important to me. This is the 8 of us, are the 4 in-laws and outlaws, as we called one another. Carmel and Joan, my 2 sisters. Carmel really started me on the piano. She was 10 years older than me. And she won the under-11 of the Feis Ceoil when she was 9. And so she was good at the piano. But I used to go in age 3 and just tug them on the sleeve and say, "How do you do that?" And they started showing me and making it fun. And the 8 of us were very close together. We used to play poker about 8 or 12 times a year. And we went away for weekends together. Nobody ever won anything much. I think my brother Frank totaled it up one year, and the total winners was €18 and the loser was now 19. So it wasn't exactly Las Vegas or anything like that. But it was terribly important to me, and they have stayed very important to me. I wish they were all around. Anyway, another person who was very important to me was Veronica Dunn. When I was 17, the doc brought me in and said his sight reading is terrible, throw everything at him, and I started accompanying her students, and she was just an inspiration. She was so gorgeous and so warm, and I still remember one day after about a year I said to her, you know, Ronnie, if I had a voice, she was so charismatic, if I had a voice I'd give up the piano and take up singing. And she got me to stand up and she played a chord and she said, sing me a scale, and I sang her a scale and she said, stick to the piano, honey. And that was the end of my singing career. You know, and we're still very close. I played at her 90th birthday concert in the concert hall in August, and I was very, very, very proud to do so. This is my teacher in Vienna, Dieter Weber. He changed my life. When I went there, I really didn't have a technique. I lied my way into his class. He said, play me a Chopin study, and I said, I haven't practiced one, I've been travelling. And he said, but you know how to play a Chopin study. And I was a great admirer of Brian Friel, and I knew Philadelphia, here I come. So I was doing Gar Public and Gar Private. I was saying to him, you know, of course I played Chopin studies, and Gar Private was saying to me, you're lying through your teeth, you know, this sort of thing. It went on anyway. At the first lesson I tried to play a Chopin study, and he stopped me and he realised I'd done nothing, and he put me back onto finger exercises and showed me exactly how to play the piano, how everything works, the shoulders, the elbows, and it's why I'm a good teacher now, because I learned it so late. I was 24 when I went to Vienna. We became great mates. I miss him to this day. He was 44 when he died. He got married to a girl I thought he shouldn't get married to. He still made me insist on being his best man. And he died 2 months later. He was phenomenal. He was great. I organised a reunion 30 years after he died, and another one last year, 40 years after he died, in Vienna, and over 60 people came from around the world because his memory is so great. And this is with Wilhelm Kempf. I remember after I won the Beethoven competition in Vienna, which of course really changed my life, Wilhelm was doing the complete Beethoven sonatas in Vienna at the Vienna Festival, and Dieter brought me backstage and said, this is John O'Connor, he would like to study with you. And he looked at me and said, gern, with a grin that went from ear to ear, which means with pleasure. So I went and studied with him in Positano a couple of summers, and this was his magnificent house that looked out over the Mediterranean, and he was such an inspiration. I loved his playing, I loved the man, and he was just so encouraging. He was just wonderful. I still remember so many of the things he told me. Another milestone in my life was starting the international piano competition, and this is with Anne Fuller and my wife Mary. Anne and I still play bridge to this day. She's retired as administrator, but she and I ran the competition for nigh on 30 years, and she still remains one of my best friends. She and Laurie Carr and Ida Delamere and myself started it, and she was fabulous. She kept on saying, you know, people would say, "How we can't do that," and she would say, "Why not?" and she would do it. This was a wonderful weekend up at the summer school that Joe Mulholland runs in Donegal with Seamus Heaney and Brian Friel. Brian Friel asked me specifically at his 80th birthday concert in the Abbey to play John Field Nocturnes at the concert because he loved them so much. And Seamus was wonderful. Seamus and I known one another for, 30 years and more. I remember when he got the job in Harvard, he came over to me and said, at a party, he said, "Guess what? Some idiots are paying me twice what I was getting in Carysford to teach one semester a year." You know, he was wonderful. He was so funny. We had some rare evenings together, which I won't say in public, but whatever, anyway. This is my family, my beloved family. Hugh, my elder son, who is a wonderful actor and director and photographer and everything. My second son, Keith, our Opus 2, and his beloved wife, Elaine, who's just produced our first granddaughter, almost 3 years ago now. And she's the best thing that's ever happened to him. And we were just down recently in Galway, where she helps run the Bobberrow Festival. And this was their wedding 7 years ago. God, is it really 7 years? And finally, this is my great friends, John and Pauline Ryan, with Andreas Delfts, the conductor. I remember saying to John, I was playing something somewhere, and I said, you know, one of the things I've done in my life is record all the Beethoven sonatas, and whatever they say about me, I have the box set and they can't take that away from me. I said, another thing I'd love to do is record the Beethoven concertos, but nobody has enough money to sponsor that. And John came around, and he's from Tipperary, and said, "Why not? I'll help you." And he and Pauline backed it and came over. We did it with the London Symphony Orchestra in Abbey Road about 10 years ago, and with Andreas Delfts, who I adore playing with him, and it was very special. And they're going to be coming over for my Lifetime Achievement Award, and I'm so proud that they're coming.